Edition of America's Mayor Live with America's Mayor Rudy Giuliani. And tonight we have a very special guest, his son Andrew, also a 2022 candidate for governor here in the great state of New York. So we'll go with the opening statement.
Well, it's nice to have everyone here. Thank you for joining us, and I hope you're going to send in a lot of questions. And it's great to have my favorite son,
especially on Thanksgiving week too. Nonetheless,
Thanksgiving week,
make my debut.
Well, you've made your debut many times.
Well, that's true.
A
long time ago.
But Andrew ran, as you know, in the Republican primary for governor. He came in second. It was his first race, and everyone thought he did a great job, and I agreed. Unfortunately, however, our state, and we think Lee Zeldin did a great job of winning for a lot of other people, but unfortunately not for himself. So what happens to our state now? I mean, she's a disaster.
Yeah.
And crime is going up, not down, and they're not doing it. They certainly didn't seem to learn anything from the election.
Well, the thing that scares me, and I saw that one of the pledges that she made was that she was going to actually put cameras on the subways. She actually just signed a bill that actually reduced that, does not actually mandate that. So I think all of the tough talk that she actually did when she finally acknowledged that crime was a problem, which was the last basically 17 days of the election, she's actually going back and backing off of all of that already right now, before she's even sworn the oath of her first full term in office. So to me, it's scary looking forward when you see Adams on one hand, who seems to give a good press conference, but nothing beyond that. And then Hochul, who seems to be controlled by a radical legislature. Look, we still have a Democratic majority in the House, in the Assembly in New York, in the state Senate. Thankfully, at least those supermajorities don't exist anymore. But still, you have bills, radical bills that pass the Assembly and the state Senate, and they go right to a governor's desk who seems to be controlled by them. I think what Zeldin did show, and I think Republicans did show, is that if Democrats continue to go as radical as they have been, you're going to have more and more independents. You're going to have more and more Democrats that actually either leave the state or in 2026 will end up voting for a Republican governor.
Yeah, I know. It's amazing because I thought there was a chance we were there this time.
Yeah.
Because crime was really a major concern in New York,
right,
all over the state. I've never seen it a major concern all over the state. I've seen it as a major concern in New York, but never all over the state. She was a particularly weak candidate.
Horrendous candidate. She didn't even acknowledge that crime was a problem until basically they showed that the race was even, and that and that's when she actually acknowledged that crime was a real problem, which more and more New Yorkers obviously are dealing with. It actually took until there was a rape in the morning on the West Side Highway in a very, very safe neighborhood in New York for Hochul to acknowledge that it was beyond just a Republican conspiracy theory.
Right.
It's crazy.
I mean, the mayor was saying that it's more the fear of crime than actual crime on the subway. Meanwhile, every day 4 or 5 people are getting knocked around on the subway.
Yeah.
And then she's saying it's a Republican conspiracy. So the reality is, right now there is no plan to reduce it, and the city is just going to keep losing people. I don't see any answer to it.
I think the good thing that Zeldin did show was that take a look at this. Right now, it's 2.2 Democrats for every 1 Republican in the state. In the city, it's about 8 to 1.
Wow.
A little less than 8 to 1. It's pretty wild. You think about it, when you won, which this is pretty amazing. We were talking about this for a little inside baseball. I called him up on election day. It was probably before your radio show. Maybe it was after your radio show, but it was kind of going through the early voting numbers and seeing where they all were. And we were just talking about that Zeldin would have to win 35% of New York City. He ended up cracking 30%. Which is the first time that a statewide candidate, a statewide Republican, has done that since Pataki in 2002. But I was just thinking that when we're talking about does Zeldin have a path to 35% in New York City, that you actually won New York City in 1997 with 59% of the vote, which is actually kind of miraculous. I don't know if a Republican will ever be able to do that again, to win almost 60% of the vote in New York City. Forget about New York City.
A lot of those people are gone.
Yeah. And for those that don't know New York State politics, which I'm sure many of you do, New York City is about, there are 8.5 million people in New York City. There are 19.5 million people in New York State. So a Republican needs to contend and make it, they're going to lose New York City for the most part in a statewide race, with the exception of you, who won New York City twice. But if you can make it close, then you can make it up, not just upstate, but also in Hudson Valley. You can make it up in Suffolk and Nassau, which Lee certainly performed well in. But it's certainly one of those concerns that I think more and more parents are having. What is the future of New York City? What is the future of New York State? And are more and more people going to go down to Florida? I just got back actually from a couple of days in Florida, and this was amazing.
Pretty attractive, huh?
It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable the job that's been done down there, and it's just. I think one of DeSantis' line was "Freedom lives here," and it really does. I mean, you feel completely free. And I remember after the White House, after President Trump left the White House, and I went down for a little time with my wife down there. That was in the height of COVID, when you're wearing masks in New York City. It felt truly like a different country. It felt like a different world almost at the time,
particularly during the pandemic.
Yeah, but
it was amazing. You would here you'd have to show papers. You'd have to wear masks. If you went into a restaurant, there's a chance the police would come in and raid the restaurant. There, nobody was wearing anything.
Yeah,
well, you know what I mean.
Yeah, I know what you mean there.
Well, they do wear bikinis and stuff like that too. But I mean, the reality is I
don't know where you were going in Florida, but I didn't get there. So
when you look at the death rate there and here, they were in the middle of the pack, and we were one of the top in the country.
Yeah.
And the reality is, they got a lot of old people.
Yeah.
I thought at the beginning, hearing about the disease and the affected elderly people, I thought, oh my God, no matter what, Florida's going to get hit really hard.
Yeah.
Well, they got hit average, and we mismanaged it. I think we mismanaged it so badly, we just kill people.
Yeah. Well, we know, and this is one of the things that I would find fascinating. Is there any plan for Hochul at all to investigate nursing homes?
The answer is, of course not.
And of course not. The answer is, but you think about. Truly, I think one of the worst executive orders ever signed by a governor, not just in the state of New York, but probably in our country, when we knew what we knew early on of what this disease would do.
And you were in the White House at that time.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It was at this point, you knew very early on that old people were going to be the most susceptible to this. That probably people under the age of 30, 40, 50 years old, they're going to be less susceptible for the most part than people who are in their 70s, 80s, aka those people that would be in nursing homes. The fact that Andrew Cuomo signed that order, which, by the way, it was at the same point when Trump sent the USS Comfort, which you know very well because of September 11th. It was pretty amazing that Cuomo signed that, and that we're not having an honest investigation.
Yeah, I mean, he escaped that. I think he escaped that by getting out on the women thing, and they gave him a pass on that, because otherwise they'd have to go after. They'd have to go after Murphy in New Jersey. They'd have to go after Whitlis in Michigan. They'd have to go after Newsom in California, all of whom stuffed old people in nursing homes. Murphy having been warned directly.
Yeah.
I mean, it's outrageous, but Democrats get away with murder.
Yeah. Yeah, and sadly, you're talking about actually real murder.
Yeah, they get away with murder.
Yeah.
Look at the guy in the White House.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining us, America's Mayor Live, tonight with America's Mayor Rudy Giuliani and special guest Andrew Giuliani, 2022 candidate for governor here in the Empire State. Ran a fantastic campaign, a very strong campaign, and we're already getting a lot of questions, Andrew. And a lot of folks in our chat saying they voted for you.
Oh, really? Okay, I was going to say the two.
And it was over 2, so
that's true.
More than 2.
That's true.
So thanks for joining us. Comment below. Let us know who you are and where you're tuning in from. And of course, both the mayor and Andrew are open to answering some questions tonight.
Absolutely.
So fire away. We'll get right to some of the questions. This is one we've gotten quite a bit, Mayor, and maybe Andrew wants to chime in. The special election. The runoff that we're having in Georgia between Herschel Walker and Raphael Warnock. Any update, anything else, anything you guys would like to say about that race as we continue to get closer?
Want to lead it off right there?
Go ahead.
So, I mean, obviously, this is going to be a matter of who's going to be able to deliver right there. You can hear my daughter in the background, for those of you right there. She took a little tumble over here, so she's hoping that she fares a little better than Herschel Walker will fare. I got to know Herschel a little bit throughout my time in the White House, and I loved getting to spend time with him. I think it's one of these seats that we look about for the next 6 years in terms of being able to win back the Senate in 2024. And it's crucial that we win a state that really had Republican senators up until a couple of years ago consistently. But it's going to be about who's going to be able to drive their voters out. I mean, I think it's as simple as that. This race is going to be close enough. What's so interesting was, if you look back in 2020, the one runoff that actually hurt Republicans was the Georgia one, because Perdue actually won that race on November 3rd, but he won it 49.9, I think it was 49.96 or 97. It was maybe hundreds or maybe just about 1,000 votes shy of him getting the 50% number they had. So we know that Warnock ended up about a point more than Walker during the actual general. But now that we're in the runoff, it's just a matter of who can get to that 50+1.
Yeah, it's a pull operation, right? I mean, it's a really a major pull. Which party, which group of people are more incentivized?
Yeah.
Who? It's hard to tell from far away which one. I mean, had it been for the Senate leadership, I think the Republicans would have won.
Yeah.
Because the Republicans would have been highly incentivized. I don't think the Democrats' negative incentive is never as great. But now it's a toss-up. It really is a toss-up.
Yeah, I think so.
I wouldn't be surprised to see it go either way.
And I think in looking at a state like Georgia that now has 2 Democratic senators representing them, I think there might be a bit of a localized push.
That is true. I think there could be a sense, hey, we're a Republican state. Let's cut the crap.
Well, plenty of time for questions about.
Particularly Warnock. I mean, Warnock does a great job. Warnock was very far left.
Yeah.
I mean, he's doing this whole make-believe moderate thing. And plus all of his attacks on Herschel, this guy ran his wife over.
Yeah.
Please remember that. This is a reverend who ran his wife over. Not a lot of reverends run over their wife.
So thanks for joining us.
Purpose.
America's Mayor Live with America's Mayor Rudy Giuliani, and special guest tonight. He may look familiar, Andrew Giuliani, who ran a fantastic campaign for governor of the great state of New York recently. A lot of you know a lot about Andrew. So we'll have plenty of time for politics. We can ask all sorts of questions. But a lot of folks, Andrew, they want to know about the mayor as a father. What was it like having the mayor as a father? What's he like when the cameras turn off?
Well, I think probably the biggest compliment that I can pay him is he's the exact same person when the cameras turn off as when they turn on. And I think that's probably the biggest compliment you can pay somebody, right? Yeah, well, I think for the most part, good. Look, you're very compassionate. We growing up, we got to spend a lot of time talking Yankee baseball, talking politics, but talking Yankee baseball, getting a chance to both learn golf together. This is probably the most amazing thing, actually, that you can say this. He actually went to every single one of my high school football games from freshman year to senior year, except for one, which was the one after September 11th. And that's understandable. You were at that point, we're going to 8 funerals a day and many times. So, I mean, this is a guy who didn't miss family occasions and made it a priority. And I think that's something that I've looked at. I've seen my baby girl, and I know that it's something that I want to make sure that I'm not just a part of her life, but a daily part of her life. And I think that's so important for people that do have a public persona, that are in the public eye, because one of the things that I see day in and day out with my daughter is whatever joy comes from being able to get out there and go on the radio or talk on TV or be able to deal in the public sphere. Whenever I see her laugh, or now that she's taking her first steps, there's nothing that brings me more happiness than being able to see the milestones in her life.
Yeah. She just passed out.
Yeah. Well, she's smart. She's hearing me talk, and she's like, I hear Daddy talk all day. I don't want.
Okay,
Exactly.
So Andrew, I'm sure you're used to getting questions about your father, of course, and being the mayor's son. But our viewers want to know more about you. Yeah. So maybe talk a little bit about you, where you grew up. A lot of us probably know where you grew up, but maybe where you went to school, and just give us a little bit about your background.
Yeah. So
and not just a typical resume. Give us some. Let us in a little bit. Yeah. Yes.
Okay. So obviously,
let's get to know Andrew.
Shockingly enough, you guys would be shocked to know that I grew up in New York, and am, believe it or not, a Yankee fan. I've said this a few times on the campaign trail, but I thought this is one of the best lines over here. I met my wife at Yankee Stadium at Derek Jeter's last game, and my father during the wedding speech said, I raised my kids to be conservative. But, if they weren't, I love them just the same. I raised my kids to be Catholic. But, I've had indiscretions, and we have our own indiscretions. But the one thing that I would have disowned my son on is if he was not a New York Yankee fan. And he met his wife at Yankee Stadium. So I feel partially responsible for this union. Needless to say, I think the only thing that I was brainwashed on was being a New York Yankee.
I could have accepted almost anything else.
Yeah, we need to find the picture. Next time that I come on, we'll have to tease it with this picture of you bringing me home from the hospital, which most kids get brought home in a blanket, nice soft blanket. I had a Yankee jersey and a Yankee hat at the time, which was oversized because they don't make Yankee hats for 3-day-olds.
That's true. That's true. And then when he was 2 and 3. He used to run around George Steinbrenner's office, particularly when there were rain delays. And one time he got sick, and he left a big stain on George's big couch, a big chair that had a glove. And nobody ever told George what that was until they got it cleaned off. It took about 2 months to get it cleaned off.
I hope I wasn't a teenager. I hope I was at least a year or two old.
You were two.
Okay, good.
He was a wild man. He was terrific.
Yeah.
He was terrific, and he was a great candidate. And I don't know, I had mixed feelings about running. It's the funniest thing. Politics has become so terrible. It's become so terrible. And the lying that goes on. I try to think back to 30 years ago. I could get through 3 or 4 days of politics with nobody lying. Today, you can't get through an hour of it. Particularly with the Biden administration. They lie every day.
So I got a question for you.
It's just like one lie after another. They tell you things like the border is closed. And then you see thousands of people walking over the border.
So to that point, and I always am interested in people who have lived through this, and you not only lived through this, but worked through this, and we're starting to get into politics in certain levels after all this. But for all the people that talk about the political discourse today being the worst that they've ever seen. There was actually just a special on a day or two ago I was watching about Watergate and the Watergate proceedings. When you think about the 60s, the assassination on JFK, RFK, Martin Luther King, Watergate, do you think the discourse is worse today than it was even 50 years ago?
Yeah. I mean, obviously the violence apparently was worse then. I mean, you had 68 in which there were 2 major assassinations, right? Much earlier, not much earlier, but not too much earlier, Kennedy was assassinated. Today is the anniversary, by the way, November 22nd of his being shot. And I was in college. I remember it like it happened right now. But the anger wasn't as great, and the hatred wasn't as great. People didn't hate each other, I don't think. I mean, people didn't hate the way they do now, and this whole reaction to Trump has been pure insanity. It's been like a level of insanity that's hard to. And then I mean this. I've never seen a level of lying like in the Biden administration. Every day, his press secretary comes out there. She lies 3 or 4 times. I know she can live with herself. I mean, they say ridiculous. It's like the funny story during the 2020 riots when the reporter would stand there. And Black Lives Matter is, conducting a riot. This is a very peaceful protest. This is mainly peaceful protest. And you see buildings burning down, somebody being unhappy, a guy getting shot in the head.
Yeah.
This is a mostly peaceful protest. Boom, 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 boom. Every day you get that. The border is secure. And then the next thing you see You see little babies dying in the water and on the border.
Yeah.
We have control of fentanyl, and then each year we set a record for people dying of fentanyl.
So let's go back to that, Mayor. We're getting questions on this. How your decision to run for governor? People are curious about that, and how did you kind of tell your dad, this is what I'm going to do, or was it more of what do you think about this, right? Like, did you do it in consultation? People want to know the background of that. Your run for governor.
Well, I saw that there was a path to victory. I saw that this was a unique opportunity in New York in the sense that, look, not every year do things align in a state that's, as we said before, 2.2 Democrats for every one Republican, where you have more independents and non-affiliateds in New York State than you actually do Republican voters in New York State, which is actually shockingly true. But in seeing, obviously, not just the unpopularity of the Biden administration, but obviously at the time, Andrew Cuomo and how he had botched so much of not just the response to COVID, but the consistent corruption scandals. What we had seen, which is a crime epidemic, which had not just been going on in New York City, which you obviously focus on, as you should, and the national media focuses on, but all around the state,
right,
which I know you got to see traveling around this year.
Yeah.
Binghamton had the most murders last year in recorded history. Rochester last year had the most murders ever in their recorded history, and this year they're on pace to surpass that again.
Crazy.
A complete disaster all across the state, and I knew it was a unique opportunity for a Republican to actually have the opportunity to win and to save New York. So that's where the decision got made. I remember coming over here and basically talking to you about it, and you really, putting me through the ringer in terms of questioning whether or not we're ready to do this. And I think one of the best parts about that conversation was toward the end. It was a couple hours long, and you had said, "Oh, I think you're ready for this. How can I help?" And that to me was a great moment.
I wasn't sure. I mean, I never thought of you that way.
Right.
I never thought it's a different thing. You're my son. I love you. I knew you were very capable. I knew you were very courageous, but I never thought it's a different kind of thing. There are people that are wonderful, terrific people who are courageous, wonderful, and then politics isn't for them.
Yeah.
So you got to have a personality. You have to have a personality for it, and he does. And,
so
when you do, it's sort of an obligation that you participate because there are so many bad people. If good people don't participate, we're not going to have much of a country left.
Yeah.
If we just leave it to the ones who want to make money and shake people down and be important and go to parties, you got groups in politics. You can group them like this. Just a greedy group. They want to make money and they want to be rich, and they want to wear great clothes and have great cars, and they couldn't give a damn about the public. And then there's
the Eric Adams group.
Yeah, Eric Adams. Then there's the group
then
there's the group that wants to be important. They're not important. They know they're not important, and they want to be called, I'm a senator. I'm a senator. Yeah, they're worthless. They're generally worthless. And then there are the people who are there to help people, and really are committed to it and stay up all night trying to figure out, how do I save lives? How do I make things better? And those are the kind of people we need in politics. And I think this election, Republicans got a lot of good people in the House this time. It brought out a lot of good people. So let's see if that can make a difference.
So to that point, Mayor and Andrew, if you want to chime in, you spent time working in Washington as well. Does Washington change people? Does getting there, spending time there, in your opinion, does that change people? And to what, it's an open question. Obviously, it doesn't apply to everyone.
It can, and I think it takes just like anything in life. I think it's a big thing is who you surround yourself with. I think it's very important that you have, your circle of people that you can trust to make sure that you're not being changed. There's change for the right reasons, for the wrong reasons, right? We change throughout life. But in terms of can Washington corrupt people, probably is the best way to put it. The answer is absolutely yes, it can. And I've seen it. I've seen it with people that probably had the right intentions going into Washington. Because remember, you go in and a lot of times, I think for a lot of people, I grew up around politics, but I'd even say still going into the Trump White House, even knowing all the hurdles and all the different, you're playing 7-dimensional chess every single day. You still understand that it still was tough to understand exactly everything that was against the Trump White House walking in on January 20th of 2017. With that being said, I guess getting back to the original question on this is it's important to make sure that you're surrounding yourself with the right people, that you, I would say, write down what your purposes are, and continue to check that you're actually following your purposes, right? What's your purpose each day? What's your reasoning for going down there? Because there are temptations. And I think you find people that basically see Washington as this, they go in there, they're naive, they're going to change it. And then after a little time, they might get beaten down when they realize, well, wait a second, it is a bit of a war of attrition, just in general. And in many ways, our founding fathers kind of designed the checks and balances system to be a little bit of that war of attrition, if you will. I think there are some people that get frustrated and maybe do get changed by it.
Oh, I think, yeah, absolutely. I mean, the framers of the Constitution had the checks and balances because they understood that power corrupts. And also, their ideal was the citizen politician. Their ideal was somebody serving 6 years, 7 years, 8 years, and going back to their farm, going back to their business, going back to their family, and then coming back again. And I think the idea of a permanent politician was not in their mind. They didn't think of a permanent politician. And now we've got people that never did. Look at Chuck Schumer. Chuck Schumer has never done a thing in his life but be a politician. He started off as an assemblyman. He became a congressman. He's now in the Senate. And, what's left of Chuck Schumer? No soul. Yeah. I mean, he gives away Israel to the. I know him when he had very strong feelings about Israel. Now I see him cower because he's afraid of AOC. There's something absurd about that. He could have done a lot of good things, and he's accomplished nothing but make this country a dependent socialist country. And he hasn't even come through for the state of Israel, which he believes in. He's double-crossed Israel over and over again so he could be majority leader. And now he's majority leader again, and he's not going to do a damn thing.
Thanks for joining us, America's Mayor Live with America's Mayor Rudy Giuliani and special guest Andrew Giuliani. Just a couple more minutes with Andrew. We know he has to get home with his family, his young daughter. So just a couple more minutes, Andrew. Here's a good question. Two sports guys we got here, right? Two sports guys, big sports guys. But of course, like a lot of Americans, we tune into soccer once every 4 years with the World Cup. Have we been watching? And in America's case, it's been 8 years, of course, since we've been there. Yeah. Have you been watching? Of course, we had a draw. I think they call it a draw in soccer, a tie. What are our thoughts? We play England next. We just played Wales. Have you been watching? And what do you think of soccer and the whole debate, soccer versus football? Maybe we get into that. But more importantly, Team USA, are we following?
I didn't get to watch any of the USA game. I'll watch probably a little bit when I can. I'm not the biggest soccer football fan. I guess football. It's not football. The Giants play football. This is football. So I'll watch some USA stuff. It'd be good. I'll tell you what though. I've always pulled for Italy, and it's amazing. Italy actually missed this World Cup as well. So Italy was, I remember actually on the campaign trail going to Brooklyn. Yeah. And they won the European Championships, which were last year, and they actually missed the qualifying for the World Cup. So they've missed the last two. Like Ted said, you're talking about 8 years since the U.S. would be in there. It'd be nice. It'd be nice to see. I actually hope they're standing. I hope they're not kneeling for the national anthem. I didn't see any stories about it, so I would assume they are standing again, which is a good thing.
Big deal.
That obviously be something.
Big deal in Qatar about not wearing the LBG.
Not wearing
Qatar is a Muslim country.
Yeah. Be interesting if we're hearing from the woke left. Where's LeBron James now?
People don't know that I helped to design the security for the first stadium in Qatar. And that was done in 2004 and 5 for the Asian Games. So Qatar has been on a mission to get the World Cup, the Asian Games. I think they also didn't have the Olympics. What did they have? They had something in between. They had another set of games,
Goodwill Games or something like that, maybe.
And they built all these stadiums. But when we started with them in 2003, they didn't even have a police force.
Right.
They didn't have a real police force. They used the army as their police force. So they had no idea about crowd control, how to deal with tickets, what to do. It was fun. It was fun working with them. They're very, very smart. But they're not even a strict. They're not as strict a Muslim country as Saudi Arabia. So they're somewhere in between. Saudi Arabia is the strictest, right? So women couldn't drive until a year or two ago. It's really a difficult place, I think, to live. On the far end, you have Bahrain, where they had a woman ambassador to the UN a couple of years ago, and she was Jewish, which was mind-blowing for the Arab world. And then you have Dubai, which is pretty wide open, sort of the Las Vegas of the Arabian Peninsula. Then you get to Qatar, and Qatar is in the middle. It isn't strict religious, but they still adhere to the rules. Like women have to cover their arms up to here. If you're not covered, they have to put a thing on you. So this is a really big thing. I mean, this is their religion. Do you respect it? Don't you respect it? And of course, all the lefties are going crazy on Qatar because they said, our religion just doesn't accept it.
Well, it's interesting because in America, are they really going crazy on Qatar and that, or are they more focused on maybe some other issues here at home? So it's fascinating. It's interesting, right? It's a big world, and it's interesting to see how other cultures handle some of these issues and which ones the American left choose to, kind of promote and get behind, and the ones that they just flat out ignore. So that's fascinating.
One of the people I was talking to actually about a week ago or so was on the phone with him. It was actually during Zeldin's Bar. So 2 weeks ago was Enos Cantor, who's now changed his name to Enos Cantor Freedom. I think you actually might have done a podcast.
I did.
Right? I
Wonderful.
urge everybody to go to RudyGiulianiCS.com and watch that podcast.
Wonderful.
Right there. You can see I've been to the website a few times. But I know that he actually was in Lithuania at the time when I was talking to him at a basketball camp, and he's been promoting really peace through sport over the last couple of years since the NBA has potentially blackballed him. He believes that he's been blackballed.
He has a problem.
I believe
everybody.
That's exactly right. So when you think about this, right? Obviously, and I know Ted mentioned this before, but LeBron James speaking out whenever Trump would cough, basically, it seemed like. But when you actually don't talk about what's going on with the Uyghur Muslims or talk really about everything and all the human rights issues in China, because you're getting a 9-figure check from Nike. I mean, it shows pretty much the hypocrisy. And you talk about a lack of courage. I think he's a great example.
He is a great example, and the NBA is a great example of a sellout, a complete sellout to a country that is a homicidal, pathological country. China has killed 80 million of its own people, and it's outrageous that the NBA. It's outrageous that the NBA ignores that and just goes ahead as if it's not going on because of the money. It's all because of the money. Also, American businesses do it. Look at BlackRock, and American businesses sell out to them, even though they are. It isn't as if we have some disagreements over human rights. They literally slaughter people. They used to kill girl babies. They want to wipe out the Uyghurs. They'd love to wipe out all the Christians. But they love to wipe out all the Catholics, all the evangelicals. And they do a pretty good job of wiping them out.
So as American sports fans, someone may like these sports, right, Andrew? What is your advice to folks who enjoy these sports? It's been a part of their lives, but they just can't, they're not happy with the position that some of these leagues have taken.
I can't watch NBA basketball for that reason. I can't watch it.
Yeah, and for me, even like I've just been getting back into football the last couple of years because it was just one of these things. And I never actively had like I am not watching, but it was just such a turnoff, right? I mean, one of the things about when you turn on a baseball game or a football game, it's 3 hours for you to be in a bit of a fantasy land, if you will, to be able to enjoy yourself without thinking about it. One of the beautiful things about sports is the fact that you can be Christian, Jewish, Muslim, you could be white, black, you could be from a background where you're worth $1 billion or worth $2, and you could be all in that same stadium cheering for the pinstripes, cheering for the blue, whatever your colors are. just because you're backing the same city right there. You're backing the same country, if you will. It's terrible when they've actually been able to divide people like that. It's crazy.
Yeah, and they also, knowing what I know, which is whether they know it or not, they're carrying out a Marxist goal for taking over America, which is getting us to hate our country. The kneeling for the national anthem was not just an isolated act. It's a Marxist goal. The tearing down of the statues of our heroes is a Marxist goal to get us to hate our country. The emphasizing the bad things about our heroes rather than the good things about our heroes. So now I'm leading a movement. The Democrat Party has to change its name because it's a party that's too identified with slavery.
Explain that again, Mayor.
Well,
Explain that for our viewers.
If we have to change high schools named after Jefferson, because Jefferson was a slaveholder, there's no bigger supporter of slavery than the Democrat Party. They helped to create it, defend it, and go to war over it. And then after the war was over, they tended to defend racism and voted against the Civil Rights Bill. And you needed Republicans to pass it. So the party, for most of its existence, has been the strongest supporter of slavery of any institution in the United States. The name should be persona non grata. If the name of Jefferson is, that's nothing compared to the Democrat Party. So they should change the name of their party, or they should say the party with a history of massive slaveholding and defending slavery.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the most amazing things when you talk about
Bunch
this.
of phonies.
Just go back to the 60s and you talk about the Civil Rights Bill. So, I mean, we're talking about recent history here. You talk about the Civil Rights Bill and the fact that you had more Democrats that voted against that Civil Rights Bill than Republicans.
And
you
some of
needed
them,
Republicans, and Johnson needed Republicans in order to pass it.
Some of them, Biden's best friends.
Yeah.
One of whom was the head of the Ku Klux Klan in West Virginia.
Yeah.
I mean, this is absurd. All these claims of racism by
Biden gave the eulogy, I believe, at his.
Yeah, I mean, the guy should look at himself.
Yeah.
I never said I don't want my kids to go to school in the jungle.
Right.
He did.
So thanks for joining us, America's Mayor Live, with America's Mayor Rudy Giuliani and special guest this evening, Andrew Giuliani. Just a few minutes left, so please visit rudygiulianics.com. That's rudygiulianics.com. You can find the website right here in the bottom left-hand corner of your screen. Mayor, what does CS stand for?
Common sense.
So that's www.rudygiulianics.com. Thanks for tuning in, whether it's on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter. Be sure to like, subscribe, share with a friend, share with one other person tonight, and come back tomorrow with another one more viewer. And as we continue to grow this channel, we're just a month in. You can catch the mayor. By the way, on his website, you'll see a very special podcast just released. Why don't you talk about that, Mayor?
I did an interview yesterday with Larry Elder, and I think it's really one of the best. I mean, Larry is, of course, an exceptional person, an exceptional mind. I think you're going to be surprised that he's thinking of running for president, and has already made some visits to Iowa and to New Hampshire, and I think it's more than just exploring it. I don't know that he's made up his mind completely, but I think you're going to be interested in the reasons why he wants to do it. And the presence of someone like him in a race like this can help to keep the agenda on ideas. Because if you remember his race for governor, which was unfortunately unsuccessful because California reelected its dictator, which, look, the Soviet Union elected Stalin. So I guess people can wrongly vote for dictators. Now, how you can vote for Newsom is beyond unbelievable.
What do you think about this theory of Newsom coming in as the vice president, replacing Harris, and then Biden stepping down, so that way Newsom would be a sitting president? I mean, how is that theory?
I think it's a typical Democrat plot.
Yeah.
That has nothing to do with democracy. That comes about because the Democrats operate now like the Politburo. So they're gonna nobody elected Newsom to president. We're gonna put this. But this is the Politburo deciding who our president's going to be. This is the bureaucrats of the Democrat Party, the bosses of the Democratic Party, most of whom are massive crooks, deciding on Newsom so they can make more money. And the reason they hated Trump is Trump, for all the garbage they do on Trump wasn't one of their crooks. I mean, they're worried that Trump would break up this whole big thing they had going since Clinton was stealing money. And for them to dictate who our president's going to be, who the hell voted for Newsom? I mean, they're stuck with Harris.
Yeah.
Sorry. If they put her out, I think they are reversing the will of the people. They voted for her. Let's get another chance to vote for her, and we'll vote her down.
Yeah.
But they have no right to put her out of office.
Thanks for joining us, America's Mayor Live with America's Mayor Rudy Giuliani and special guest Andrew Giuliani. Andrew, this next question is for you. A lot of folks are asking, what's next for Andrew Giuliani?
Oh, man. Changing a diaper, I think, tonight. That's probably what's next in the short term. I'm going to enjoy Thanksgiving weekend. We'll figure it out. I'm going to stay involved in some capacity. I've been able to go on WABC Radio, which has been a blast, and I've been making sure that I've been going and trying to make sure that I stay as present as possible in this battle. So, look, the battle for our country is, as my father said before, you need good people to step up in all different walks of life, whether it's school board. I mean, for all those parents,
yeah, he did a great job with school board.
For all those parents that are unhappy with their kids' education and are looking and are wanting to make sure that they have a say in that, I urge you to go and take a look at school board elections. I believe some of the nominations will actually start in February, and in many states, a lot of those elections will be this coming May. So make sure you're actually doing that. Whatever it is, find a way that you can get and stay involved. And it's something, like I said, I don't even want to say as small as school board, because as a father, that's something, it's a pretty big election to me right now. But it could be something that's very local, or it could be volunteering on a presidential race. Whatever it is, it's important that if your belief, if what you want to get out of politics is a better neighborhood, a better city, a better state, and a better country, then we want you to participate in this. If you want to serve yourself, find something else to do.
I think that's an excellent speech you should keep for people who come to you for advice on running for office, because you're not going to do it. But that's really true.
And true politicians form. I never answered the question. So there you go.
But it's a great piece of advice about when somebody's thinking about running for office, because people come to me all the time and they ask me for advice on it. And that's a nice, concise, complete way of looking at it. I really do think if you're not in it to help people do something, there are a lot of other things you can do to help yourself. And you can probably even make more money at it without going to jail. Because if you make too much money in politics, you should go to jail. Not that everybody does. If you're a Democrat, you don't. But if you're a Republican, you got to be careful, because you'll go to jail even if you didn't commit a crime. So
yeah,
if you're a Democrat and you want to be a crook, I guess politics is for you, because you're going to get away with it. But if you're a Republican and want to be a crook, you better find something else.
Thanks for joining us, America's Mayor Live with America's Mayor Rudy Giuliani and a very special guest, Andrew Giuliani. Just a few minutes left. Keep the questions coming in. Let us know who you are and where you're tuning in from.
Ready for Thanksgiving, Ted?
Let us know what your plans are for Thanksgiving, and we'll ask. We'll shout out. We'll do some shout outs on what folks are doing, and if you're eating something other than turkey, let us know.
Oh yeah.
Here's a question. Did you have a question, or did you want to post something?
The New York Giants are playing on Thanksgiving. It's the first time that I can remember. They did play a night game on Thanksgiving about 10 years ago.
Yeah.
The first time that they're playing one of the main games over
Yeah.
here, and we're having to overcome a loss to I think
What happened?
Detroit Lions.
Detroit Lions. That was
I
a tough
know.
one.
3 in a row for the Detroit Lions. So, the Giants, though, 7-3, pretty surprising year for them. It's just fun that we're at Thanksgiving and the Giants are still in the playoff. It's been 10 years.
8-3 would go a long way to getting them in playoff.
It would. And those division games, you never know. So that's going to be.
No, they're a young team. And young teams can surprise you because nobody told them they can lose.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, Cowboys fans and Lions fans are used to Thanksgiving football, so they usually can put together their schedule for the day.
Yeah.
What advice do you have for football fans? Giants, right? They're playing on Thanksgiving. The game is at 4:30. What kind of dinner are you guys doing? Thanksgiving dinner before the game, during the game, or after the game?
Not me.
4:30
the
start.
Giants fans will have to get their bets in before that. The problem for Giant fans are, when you go to a Knick game or a Giant game or whatever, people get kind of strange. You'll hear this cheer because the Giants are winning. The Giants are winning 20-2. And they score another touchdown. Now you hear this big cheer. And people, what are they cheering for? because they just
Covered the spread, yeah.
Or vice versa. They give up a touchdown, there's booing and
Yeah.
yelling, and the game is over.
They're still winning, yeah.
And
They didn't cover.
It's even a Nick game.
Have you ever bet on a sporting event, Mayor?
I don't bet on sporting events. I mean, I've done it.
It's
with
becoming
my
a very
friends.
big thing now.
I've done it with my friends. Like
People are doing it on their
Super Bowl.
phones now.
I won't do that.
That's all over the place. These
Won't
big
do it. I
sports
think it's
apps.
very, very bad. It's a very bad thing.
Billions of dollars on games.
It's horrible. It's going to turn
College games. They're doing it.
It's going to turn
College
into
games.
degenerate gamblers. It's a terrible thing, and I think the mayor. The mayor is a disaster for the city for a number of reasons, but he's turning it into Vice City. He wants to get his revenues from marijuana and gambling. Well, you might as well turn us into Sodom and Gomorrah. I mean, first of all, Adams, go to Economics 101. Gambling produces no revenues for cities. One city is gained from gambling, Las Vegas, because it's all gambling. Think about it. Atlantic City was going to get rich. Pennsylvania was going to get rich. Connecticut was going to get rich. But do you study? I mean, or you just emote? So this is disgusting. It's disgusting to take my city and turn it into a vice capital with a bunch of degenerate gamblers and a bunch of people. Now, if you want to make money with marijuana, you got to sell a lot of it. If the city wants to make money, it's got to have a lot of people buying marijuana, which means the city will be in the business of promoting marijuana.
And she's not a marijuana dealer back there who was booing. That's just, want to make sure we're all clear about that. Look, in the interest of full disclosure, I actually have bet on a few games. And I look at it this way. I think it's...
Which app are you using?
What's that?
Which app are you using?
Well, I don't think they're sponsoring the podcast. Not on RudyGiulianiCS.com, so I'm not going to say it. If they want to start talking about sponsoring it, then
we'll talk. I like it, yeah.
But what I would say is this. The thing that concerns me most is exactly what you're talking about, is the fact that it's ubiquitous, that it's everywhere, that now you're seeing it basically after every play. And I think that you're going to start seeing it really, you're not seeing it after every play, but you're seeing it mentioned more and more. Probably within the next couple of years, you start seeing it mentioned after every single play. And it does concern me that you're going to have more and more people that may not necessarily be inclined to try it, not just try it, but get hooked and addicted. And you're going to have real problems from an addiction standpoint. So
and it's in the city's interest for more people to use marijuana.
Yeah.
Well, but is that really in the city's interest for more people to use marijuana?
Yeah.
Should we have the city will make more money if more people use marijuana. Right. The city will also be more degenerate if more people use marijuana. Now, what the heck is so healthy about marijuana? We're supposed to be in a health craze, right? Don't smoke, don't do this, don't do that. But take something that wipes out your brain cells. I mean, also to premise a city's economic health on its people being unhealthy is a terrible thing to do. The city should grow from real jobs, good jobs, productive jobs, not selling marijuana to people so they can go off into la la land, or gambling with the hope they're going to become rich when in fact they're not. And if they're lucky, they're not going to get addicted.
Yeah, and I can tell you it's one of these things that, and I know the left like to say it's a creation of Fox News or the right media, but anybody who's been in New York City, which I know many of you have over the last few months and really last year plus, I can't tell you how many times a day I end up walking through what feels like a puff of weed smoke, basically. And then when you're walking your daughter, you're just thinking, I mean, I cover her little face all the time whenever that happens. It's terrible. It really is. It's one of these things that when we talk about quality of life and our quality of life in New York City going the wrong direction, that's just one of the many things that we're talking about from a consistent standpoint.
Just 10 minutes to go here. Thank you for joining us. America's Mayor Live with America's Mayor Rudy Giuliani and a very special guest who may look familiar, Andrew Giuliani. So why don't we talk about your favorite thing, or maybe this is something you tell people to do when they're visiting New York during the holidays. We're coming up to Thanksgiving, and after that comes Christmas. When they're in New York City, give us something that's not the typical. We know the top five things to do. Give us something as insiders. Give our viewers some inside information as true New Yorkers. What should they see? What should they do?
Well, I'll tell you what I'm looking forward to, and I'm going to take Grace and Z to this tomorrow. I can't wait for tomorrow, the blowing up of the balloons.
I used to love
So
those.
that's not Christmas. That's tomorrow. But I think that's even better.
Tell them
than a
they've
Thanksgiving
changed
Day
it,
parade
Ted.
over here. Have
Andrew,
they changed it? Okay, I
They're
haven't even
doing
done
they're
research.
doing it during the day
daytime.
now.
It is during the day.
They used the mayor told me back in the day
it
it used to be at night.
I used to love it. As a little kid, you'd stay up late and do that. It probably is better though for kids.
They
though,
get
to
it
do
done by 6 or
It's
7.
done by
o'clock,
6. They
6.
cut.
So do they? I wonder. Do they actually shut down? Because
I
they're
don't
all
know.
around the American Museum of Natural History. Teddy Roosevelt is not there anymore, which is a whole other
no.
conversation.
Teddy Roosevelt
which
is
is terrible.
gone, but they still call it the Democrat Party.
We can have SpongeBob SquarePants, but we can't have Teddy Roosevelt there. I don't know what that's all about.
I don't know what Teddy ever did. Oh, you know why they took him down? They didn't like the statue.
Well, the Native American that was
There
next
was
to
a
him,
Native
right?
American and an African American who was next to the horse,
Right.
standing there very proudly, but it looked like they were subservient to him. And it didn't. It looked like they were very, very proud, and he was very proud. By the way, the guy's father fought in the Civil War to end slavery. Roosevelt.
Yeah.
Roosevelt was an avid abolitionist.
Yeah.
A complete non-racist, and he gets a statue taken down. And the Democrat Party gets to keep its name, and it fought for slavery. It got a lot of people killed.
But I think it's another example of what the movement on the left has become. It's not rational at all. It's almost
It's a hate
emotional.
America.
It's exactly
It's to hate our country.
And the idea is the facts we're pushing to the side, and we're going to make sure we grip people by the emotions. And the more people they can do about that, then the more money they can make off of that, and the more chaos.
I
they
wonder
can
how
bring
Grace
about.
is going to react to the big balloons going up.
I'm really looking forward to that. It'll be a lot of fun. So that's a little Thanksgiving thing. Christmas, I tell you what, it's really the things that everybody has read about and seen, because it's one of these things. If you're not from New York or you don't get to spend time in New York too much, even if you are, it's so amazing to go down Fifth Avenue and see those lights, to go to Rockefeller Center and see the Christmas tree, to watch them skate around there. It's just a blast. And you hope that when you're here, you get a little bit of snow, because it is beautiful around Christmas time.
Yeah.
You get a little bit of snow.
Yeah.
It's, of course, not fun to shovel said snow. We're in New York City. So in the city, you don't have to shovel the snow. If you're in the suburbs, you got to shovel the snow. But if you are coming to New York City, it is nice to have a little bit of snow during Christmas Day.
Yeah, I mean, Christmas time, you should see the things that you know about, that you've seen on television, that mark like Rockefeller Center, the Rockettes.
Yeah.
These are all things Americans should get to see. It's part of America.
Best place to watch the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade. If you don't have any sort of special access, best place to go and watch the parade.
Probably a TV on your home now if you don't have any special access, to be honest, right? Sometimes like a football game and that. I think you have to probably show up really early and get one of those bleacher accesses, which is probably right by the Natural History Museum. I obviously don't know exactly where it is, so I'd recommend making sure you do your research on this.
There are
yourself.
a whole bunch of stands at
but-
Columbus Circle.
But if you get there, if you get there a couple hours beforehand, a lot of times you can get those front rows and do that.
If you get too close to Macy's,
Right.
know what you watch
Right.
on television is not the parade.
Yeah.
Macy's has a lot of acts performing on television. Half those people don't march in the parade.
Oh wow!
That's
Yeah.
that's
These
done
Holly
for you.
stars, these music
Yeah, the
celebrities,
stars
are
come out,
yeah. right in there, right there in the
God
square.
forbid they should march in the parade. I mean, they might get cold. If you want to see the parade, I would say, and you don't have tickets. Place you can go is like Columbus Circle, where it turns. So there are a lot of opportunities to find little seats there, because the parade comes down. It comes down
West side.
the west side.
Yeah.
It comes down the west
Right from
side.
81st Street,
And
from
then it
Natural History
turns.
Museum down,
And
turns down to 6th. The turn to 6th.
Yeah, and
Right,
then it turns
Right.
this way.
Yeah.
So there's a big Columbus Circle, and they have stands all around, and you can usually, if you get there a little bit early, you can get seats there.
And that really actually is one of the most beautiful areas of Manhattan. By the way, Columbus is still there. So even though Teddy Roosevelt is not there, Columbus
The Italian
is
American-
actually still there. So you can go
the
see
Italian American
Columbus
construction
and
workers.
celebrate.
They didn't let him
Thanksgiving
take
with
that one down.
Columbus,
No,
right?
they didn't want to take on
still
the Italian American.
They still did not. That's exactly.
And if anything happens, Sylvester Stallone will go get it and put it back.
Thanks for joining us. Just 5 minutes left. We have America's Mayor, Rudy Giuliani, along with special guest this evening, Andrew Giuliani. So get your questions in. Just a couple minutes left here as we close out Mayor, any Thanksgiving message for our viewers today? Anything you want to say?
Yeah, I think remind yourself of Thanksgiving and how it started as an American holiday. It's a pure American holiday. It really was a situation in which the Native Americans and the Americans who came over helped each other. Even all the attempts to try to destroy the story, they haven't been able to do it. And the reality is, you're just very, very thankful that you're an American. Just think of what goes on in the rest of the world, and all these people who try to run it down. The best answer is all the people coming in illegally. How come they're coming here? In fact, these people who hate us, like AOC, and are talking about how terrible we are, why don't they tell them to go to somewhere else if we're so bad?
Yeah.
Trump says we're systemically racist. Why is he letting all these people? Biden says that we're systemically racist. Why is he letting all these people in if we're systemically racist?
Yeah.
Andrew, anything you want to add? Any special Thanksgiving messages for our viewers?
I'm going to listen to his wisdom there. I think really just be thankful that we still are, even with all the discord and everything that we're going through right now. We're still lucky to be Americans. When you think about all the different things that people are doing in the world here that's going on, all the challenges, and understand that you can actually get involved and you can be a part of the solution to all this. But make sure it might be a day to actually, turn off the politics and just be with your family, spend time with your loved ones. Politics will be there the next day. Not going anywhere, but spend time with them. Create those bonds that I think are so important that Americans for centuries beforehand have been able to really value. And so I'm looking forward to that on Thanksgiving.
Well, thank you very, very much for joining us. It was a little different, and tomorrow night we'll talk a lot about Thanksgiving. So you come back tomorrow night at 8:00, and we'll have some special facts about Thanksgiving that I think maybe you know, maybe you don't know, maybe you need to be reminded of. But it really is it's a unique American holiday. No one else had this holiday before. And it comes about because of our unique history. And because this is a country where, honestly, we love people. Not that we've always done the right thing, but we've always improved ourselves. I think we keep striving for a more perfect union. That means we're not perfect, but we're striving for it. I don't think anybody else has consistently done that. So you come back with us tomorrow, and we'll have a great time getting ready for Thanksgiving.
And to you are listening on, it's happy Thanksgiving to you and your family. Have a blessed Thanksgiving and happy Thanksgiving, Dad.